Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Boss Rush Video Game Book Club, the Boss Rush Podcast monthly spoilercast and review discussion show about the games that you have voted on. I am your host, one of your hosts, Pat PK Power, and for the first time, I am introducing my co-host. A lot of people on the internet know her as a cute idiot, but personally, I just think of her as just Taylor. Welcome to the show, Taylor.
Hello, everybody. I'm super excited. It's my first time co-hosting, and I'm super honored that I got selected to help co-host this podcast. It was super fun being on it a few times, and I'm looking forward to being on it every time
now. No, we're excited that you decided to join us. You have a lot to say about video games, and we very much value your opinion. So thank you so much for agreeing to be a co-host here.
Of course.
Yep. And this wouldn't be a book club without having a special guest. And today we have Still Shane, a writer from our Boss Rush book club, or our boss. We have Still Shane, a writer from the Boss Rush Network, as well as our copy editor, here to join us, and he is a huge Life is Strange fan, so we're excited to have him. Welcome to the book club, Shane.
Well, thank you, Pat. Glad to be here. I always love being part of these podcasts, especially when I can talk about some of my favorite games.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the past. I've been on the old Talk the Walk, all four of the Life is Strange podcasts that we had there, and as well as Firewatch. I'm prepared today. I'm wearing my Firewalk shirt from
Very
Life
nice.
is Strange.
Very nice.
Also, I wanted to point out back here is this nice Life is Strange art piece I got from Christine_art. I won it on Twitter or X, and
Wow.
awesome piece of Max. So
Nice. Yeah, we can
That's
kind of see
awesome.
it here. Is that Adult Max or Teen Max?
let me grab it for you.
I know. I'm like, I want to see it up close now.
Mm-hmm.
That's all drawn.
Wow. I was about to say that's a hand-drawn portrait. That's
Yeah,
insane.
very
Wow.
detailed. So
that is
That's
so
beautiful.
You can watch her do some of them on her Twitter, and it's pretty impressive. So
yeah, you should. Does Hannah Tell know about her at all?
That I don't know. Possibly.
That'd be a good direction to be like, hey, Hannah Tell, check this out. Someone does art for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And just a clarification, Pat, my tag is Still Saying Shane.
Still Saying Shane.
Yep.
Sorry, I
no
keep
problem.
missing the saying part.
It's hard to pronounce, but everybody calls me Sean anyway, so it's that's the normal.
Oh.
Would you like us to call you Shane or Sean?
Shane.
Shane.
That,
Will you like to
whatever
call
you want, Pat?
Still sane?
I try to be every day, but sometimes it's hard. So.
Yep. No, that's okay. You're always welcome here. So
thank you, Pat.
Sane or not sane, we will take your opinion regardless. It'll be interesting.
Good.
All right. So here, if you want to support the Video Game Book Club and the Boss Rush podcast, you can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. Subscribing to tiers on our Patreon can grant you perks such as exclusive pre and post shows conversations, exclusive question threads for our Spotlight podcast, and early access to After Dark and more. And as always, though, your viewership and listenership is enough for us, so please subscribe to the Boss Rush Network on YouTube and like this video. And also, if you listen to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or even if you don't, feel free to just leave us a rating and a nice review on these platforms. You can find all of us you can find all of our banters, features, listicles, reviews, and more at our website, bossrush.net. All right, so we kind of already spoiled it just a little bit, but we are talking about Life is Strange, particularly the brand new one, Double Exposure, which features a return of Max Caldwell a few years after the events of the very first game. So, in a sense, it is a direct sequel, but it is also telling its own story. So you don't need to play the first one to enjoy it, but it's still recommended. Just kind of give you a little bit of details on this. The game came out this October, October 29th, 2024. It came out on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, and the PC, with a port to Nintendo supposedly still rumored on its way. This game is made by Deck Nine, which has now made 3 out of the 5 Life is Strange games. Um, Don't Nod was the original group that created it, but Deck Nine has definitely shown that they can hold a candle to Don't Nod's storytelling and choice-based system. As for reception, it is currently sitting on a 73 on Metacritic, with the reception kind of being based mostly on how some things have been handled between the conversion of the original one and this one, based on choices. So it there's a certain choice which we'll talk about definitely in this game that had alienated a lot of people that like to do video game shipping. So we will definitely get into that. But yeah, at the moment, we will definitely review, or we will give you our spoiler free impressions of the game. And then we'll let you know when we start going into the deep dive. So let's kick it off with Shane here. Shane, what's your thoughts about this new version of Life is Strange?
Well, overall, I always like the art style, the music, the character relationships as you progress through the story. So again, I always there's always a good vibe or feeling going into the game, and um, just it feels a bit magical as you play these type of games. And I this time around, I've got some interesting takes on it, but I do again really enjoy the Life is Strange series, and this is also a another great outing into that world.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you were to rate the Life is Strange kind of in from best to worst, where would this fit into that ranking?
This is going to be middle to fourth
Middle
out
two.
of the
Okay,
five for me.
all right, that's fine. Would you? But you're still saying it's a good game, regardless
It's
of
a
it
good game.
being on the
I
lower
like
end of
all
your
of them,
favorite. Mhm.
uh, but with some like you said, some of the choices in here, some of um, the direction I'm of uncertainty that we'll get into. I'm going to rank it there for now. Maybe as we get another game in the series, maybe this will fit in a little better.
Okay, fair enough. Taylor, thoughts and impressions.
Okay, so I will have a lot to say later. For those listening, I told Patrick and Shane before the start of this podcast that I hadn't played any of the Life is Strange before this one, so I ended up playing the first one for the first time last week, and I played through all of that, and then I played through Double Exposure. So I played them back to back,
Hmm.
which I thought would be really helpful because the first one is fresh in my mind. I remember exactly how I felt playing through it. And then I compared it to this one. Part of me feels like it was a detriment because I personally was disappointed in this one. I feel like I have more bad to say than good compared to the first one.
Hmm.
I do enjoy the games. Like I said, I love decision making games, like in general. Like I like, Until Dawn of Wolf Among Us, like anything where you can make
Hmm.
decisions and there's consequences and stuff. I really like that it makes you think and it weighs on you. Um, some things I can't say now, obviously, because it'll be spoilers, so we'll talk about that later. But making decisions in this one were pretty stressful to me compared to the first one at times. And I'll touch on that later. But yeah, it was it was an interesting playthrough to see the difference. And Yeah, I did enjoy it overall. I think I do have some issues with some of the storytelling in it. I feel like some things weren't wrapped up really well or very clear, and some other things as well. So it'll be interesting to talk about later. But this is kind of my thoughts right now.
All right. Well, I am kind of in the same boat as you guys. Luckily, like Life is Strange isn't as fresh into my mind, so I don't fully recall all the impact. I do remember like moments being very impactful with a lot of decisions in the original game. In fact, I do remember more of the decisions in the original game felt more uh difficult in my opinion because of the choices that they're presenting to you
Mhm,
and just what the consequences of some of those choices could be. I felt it was a little more easier to kind of pick and choose the choice this time around of which directions I wanted to go with and how I want to mold Max personally based on my
mhm,
experiences from the first game. Uh, but I will say this game is absolutely gorgeous. Like
mhm.
graphics, the scenery, absolutely stunning. Like there are several times I ended up just like going into photo mode and just like capturing like these beautiful
Yeah,
like renderings.
Yeah, I
I
wanted
always
to.
pause.
Yeah, I was I wanted to live where they were in Vermont or wherever. I know it's a
Yeah,
make believe place, but I was like, I want to go there. It's so
and
pretty.
I think they use what Unreal Engine 5 on this one, so I
Mhm.
think it's a good choice for the graphics portion of it. Um, not I guess not all always necessary for the I want to say movements and moving around in this type of game, but for the most part, yeah, the everything was beautiful.
Oh yeah, no, the detail, the facial expressions, I
Yep.
felt like really helped this along and made
Mhm.
like especially Max feel a lot more human in this game.
Yes.
Yeah, the details were crazy because, like, even for like Amanda and Vin are the ones I think of, but like Amanda, you could see some wrinkles or crow's feet around her eyes, and Vin had some like kind of like hair, like stubble and stuff, and it was just like the
Yeah.
fact that you can see the details on their faces that good. I was like, dang, like,
Hmm.
Yep. I also enjoyed some of the soundtrack that played during they call them the meditation moments in the game,
Hmm.
where if
hmm
you were to sit and just kind of like Max ends up reflecting a little bit, but then it just like changes the scenery around until you decide to get up.
Yeah. That's always the best part I think about the games. Uh,
hmm
I always try to get the CDs or albums for them, but it's hard to get
hmm
them sometimes.
Hmm.
But I think they dropped it on Amazon Music. I have the unlimited, and yeah, they dropped it for on there, and I was just listening it today while doing the
hmm
dishes. It's just nice.
Yeah, I say those are my some of my favorite parts of the games because to me it just kind of is a reminder like take time to yourself, sometimes reflect on yourself or, peace of mind and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Which is important in real life and stuff. So
And
I like when they do that in the games.
definitely
Yeah.
a pause and process type feel to it. So
hmm
Yep, I like that thought. I actually should probably try that a little more often myself. I always feel like I'm a go and I don't really take much time to reflect on myself. Now, if only I can get that like my theme song, so I can have some
so
background music to go with it.
may, maybe maybe on the next podcast we can play
Be
music and
like,
circle around you, Pat.
mm, mm.
We'll do different shots of where you are.
Yeah.
Maybe you're sitting out on the deck.
Then we'll like take the camera and we'll point it towards my sleeping little girl here.
Nice.
She's always with you. I love that.
Yeah, she likes my company. She also likes my chords. So, but yeah, other than that, though, I would say that the gameplay mechanic in this one did not feel as good as the
Mhm,
rewind time. This one, you just kind of shift between two parallel universes.
Hmm.
They like the first chapters 2 and 3 used it very well, I thought, but then like it was a secondary thought for chapters 4 and 5. Like,
Hmm.
um,
And yeah, I felt that was kind of a reoccurring theme in this game. Something was introduced, and then eventually it was an afterthought. Unfortunately.
Yeah, that was one of my gripes with the story. Was there, like I said, a couple things I feel like were not tied up or
Hmm.
mhm,
closed well.
Yeah.
yep, yep, and I agree with all that too. So, but overall, I did enjoy this game. I love Max as a character, and I definitely want
Mhm.
to see her more,
Hmm.
and like possibly where this series is going. But with that said, we are going to be moving over here to spoiler territory. So we highly recommend play the game and then listen to us. But you don't necessarily have to do that. You can always just listen to us as well. We're happy to have you either way. But this was your final warning that we will now be spoiling the game. Life is strange, guys. Life is
It
strange.
is.
One day, like, you're just like watching the screen of like some abandoned like building and seeing two characters bust in and recognizing one of them being an older friend that you used to know back in the day.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
did enjoy that. Just the first scene is them busting into some place, and
Mhm.
I
And it was
felt.
nice seeing.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, you can continue, Shane.
No,
Sorry.
no, no. I was just saying, it felt like it was like I had gone away to college, and now I'm back, and I'm going back into my room for like the first time in a year, and I'm seeing something again. That's how I felt because I haven't, playing the original was years and years and years ago, and playing this again was like, oh, this is awesome because I'm with Max again, just taking
Mhm.
pictures. Yeah, I felt great.
Yep.
Yeah. I would say it was nice to me to see her. I don't know, because I know she was into photography in the first game, but
Yeah.
it was really nice in this one. It's like that is definitely the route she went, and like I love that it started off with her being like, "This is my photo series. I'm going into these abandoned buildings, a photography thing," and I love seeing that she still has that passion, and that's what she wants to do is
Yeah.
photograph moments and stuff. And I was like, "That's awesome for her."
And she feels confident now, like she's
Hmm.
you know you're uncertain when you're in high school or college even, what you want to do with your life. So to have a theme and want to do that, um, that was pretty like cool to see, at least from my aspect of it. So
Mhm. No,
Hmm.
I definitely agree. Like how like it, she now has like a purpose. Like she wants to photograph like things of like that show empty or like have been untouched and like show that that may have like a life of its own still, just
hmm
um without being like disrupted by human hands in a
yeah,
sense.
and you saying that, Pat, just think about the first game and how her teacher, of course, was doing these things to the female students. You know, it's kind of her way of like, I want to see it in its true form, not something that I've taken and spoiled. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's actually a very good thought. Based on what the events of the first one,
hmm
which will of course be spoiling too here. Uh, uh, but yeah, that those events that towards the end of the first one were very eye opening, and it's I like how you said she wants things to be unblemished, where Jefferson wanted full control to
of the
Hmm.
manipulate his
of the
pictures the
situation.
way he
Yep.
wanted it to.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. We're also introduced to Max's brand new bestie, a kind of rambunctious and very outspoken girl named Safi. And Safi always seemed to have something, to say, regardless of what, to match whatever Max said. She was very spontaneous, very witty in a sense.
Yeah.
Yes. She was funny.
Yep. Like, you know what, this works. And like Max, the reacts or the chemistry between Max and Chloe was always like you had kind of like the alpha and the beta almost,
Hmm.
where Chloe was a very like in your face, like very loud, and Max was very soft spoken. I felt like
Mhm.
Safi still kind of matched Max's
Hmm.
or complemented Max's personality, but it was also cool to see Max being able to throw punches as well now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like definitely a lot more confident. Um,
Yeah, I felt like because dynamic, at least even with my best friend, one we jab at each other. That's part of the fun, and
Mhm.
he might not understand some of the things that I like, and I might not understand some of the things he likes, but he's there for me, and this is kind of how that plays in the scene. She's there for Max, and though she doesn't understand the whole photography aspect of it or why she's doing this, she's there for her nonetheless. So
mhm. Yep. All right. So we end up, taking a few photos of the bowling alley, and then do you all go and hang out with another one of your best friends? Oh, actually, did he come in to play just yet, or did you all just go to the Snapping Turtle? Is what it's called. It's the local
yep,
bar.
I think they went to Snap
Moses
Turtle.
wasn't there
Yeah.
though, right?
No, not yet.
No.
Okay,
Yeah, we went to the snapping turtle first, I believe.
that's right. I didn't. Yeah, you didn't meet Moses until later on, but
Mhm.
yeah, you go to a local watering hole where all the campus students go, called the Snapping Turtle, which is a Art Deco. It almost looks like a coffee shop, but it's actually a bar.
Yeah.
Karaoke. It's
But they still
a whole
have
thing.
coffee there, right?
Yeah,
Yep, that they did.
Bailey's and Kahlua.
Hmm. As well as a whole bunch of your various alcohols that apparently Max does not know because she's not that big of a drinker,
Mhm.
Hmm.
as we find out. But she's willing to take a shot or two to be able to impress the uh, the new possible spark in her life behind the counter. We are introduced now to Amanda, a very also very kind of says what's on her mind, but she has more of a like motherly charm. I feel
Yeah,
to her like a
she
more.
feels a little grounded, um,
Hmm.
Mhm.
a little more down to earth. Even
And
like when they had the picture of the family in the back, and she talked about her siblings, that
yeah.
felt like just setting like a setting of her. So
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. What did you think of Amanda when you first met her, Taylor?
Um, oh, I loved her. Same thing. She's very sweet. She seems very protective of Max. She's very aware of like when Max is like feeling down or, needs comfort and stuff and tries to be there for her, which I really liked. Um, no, I liked her right away. I really like Amanda a lot. Though I will say I thought it was very weird that like 10 minutes into the game they were asking you, "Do you have a crush on her or not? Do you wanna take her on a
it,
date or not?" And I'm like, "I don't even know this girl." Like, it's way
yeah,
too early. Like, I thought it should have been in a maybe chapter 3 or something, 2 or 3, I don't know, something a
yeah.
little bit later, but it was just that was the very start of the game, the first time meeting her, and
Hmm.
right away, it's like, "Do you wanna make her a love interest or not?" So to me, that threw me off because 'cause I'm like, "I need more
So a
development for
lot of flirting in this game. So
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I will definitely say the relationships in this game felt very fast, like
Mhm.
very, very fast. But I mean, we do have to remember that Max has been in this town for probably a few months, at least for a semester. Um, so she's probably seen Amanda, but hasn't really built up the courage to talk to her yet. Until Safi is like, go talk to her. She's giving you eyes or something like that.
Mhm.
And so you have some fun, interesting conversations. But then you receive your text, and Safi and you decide to join your other bestie, a big, awesome, nerdy. He really reminds me of LeBron. from
Yeah.
our podcast. Uh,
Okay.
a guy named Moses, um, who's big in he's basically the nerd in all of us, but he's not like the super nerd. He's the very controlled,
Yeah.
but he has his nerdy side
Hmm.
definitely there. He geeks out about stars. He geeks out about anime. Um, but he is also very composed as well, you know.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem to speak his opinion. He seems more quiet. Doesn't really feel like his opinion matters much unless you like kind of coax him to like talk about it. I feel like he's more reserved, probably even more reserved than Max was uh,
Hmm.
in the first one, in my opinion. And so that makes also sense that he also would have a great relationship with Safi because of that whole alpha beta dynamic again.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Moses seemed like a really cool guy in my opinion. Like
Yeah.
I would love to be friends with him and just kind of dig into his vast knowledge of like the stars. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but it's on this rooftop scene that we kind of Safi is kind of like there's definitely something on her mind, and you kind of have to either kind of coax it out of her, or I guess depending on your choices, you can get like different outcomes from this. But Safi seems to have a secret, and you can kind of get it out of her in different ways. One of them is a game that they play with a Coke or a bottle cap, and whoever has the bottle cap has to answer questions. And so the question is, were you able to get her the bottle cap?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How'd you guys do it?
Um, I don't know if there were different ways. Put it in her candy box and then handed her
Uh,
the candy box and she put it in her hand.
That is the same way I did it.
Okay, so that is how we did it. Yeah, I was kind of curious if people just like threw it in her bag or
I
like
think
in
that
her
there
pack
was
of
two other,
smokes.
the bag and the cigarettes, I think were the other two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we all threw it in the candy,
Hmm.
and she's like, "Okay, this is sneaky," but she answers the question, uh, and you find out that she has written a book, and that it's possibly getting published here very soon. So
I
cool.
did I did not know that because I told her
Oh,
I
you
didn't know.
you let her keep her secret?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Look
Oh,
at you being
okay.
respectful, Shane.
Hey, I play how I would do it in real life.
I'm like, you know what? These are the rules. You have the
I
bottle
know,
cap.
that's how I was too. I was like, "You have the bottle cap. Fess up." Like
Hmm. Yeah. So she told us that she had a manuscript, and we were like, oh yeah, super excited. And then she gets a phone call, and she walks away. And then you go and you talk to Moses, and have a little conversation with him, and then all of a sudden you develop a headache. It's almost like a very pulsing,
Yeah.
like kind of headache. Yeah, that was my impression of the headache.
Eh, nice. PK headache.
Yeah. Uh, and so Max decides maybe I should just call it a night. Um, but that night things were a little ominous. You're being guided by what's the owl name from Zelda?
Kate Bora gave.
Oh.
Kapur Gibora?
Yep.
Yep. Yep. Kapur Gibora decided to pay Max a visit and guide her along a snowy path.
I love that.
Where the headaches start getting a little more intense, uh, and she's kind of getting the premonition that something's not right here.
Hmm.
And you go further on the path, and you hear a gunshot. And of course, like Max is no stranger to gunshots, and knows that that is not something that is usually a good thing to hear. as most of us probably are well aware, especially at night on a campus. So you go further, and she sees her friend Safi kind of walking, and it's like, okay, Safi's all right, she's fine. And so Safi sits down on a bench, and you go and like, hey, you know, are you okay? Everything all right? But Safi's kind of not responding anymore, and then you kind of notice that there's blood
Mm.
and that she's dead. And that is the whole reason we have this game now.
Very reminiscent of the
Yep.
first one, which started with Chloe getting shot, and now it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Yep.
Safi shot. This keeps happening.
Yep. No, I imagine this definitely gave relived some of Max's PTSD from the original one.
Hmm.
Like, and you can see it in the game. You have a journal that you can go and check out, and this particular entry is a whole bunch of scribbles and like pained looking like drawings. Like, I can't believe this is happening again.
And,
Um,
and and that's a big, I guess, theme of the Life is Strange. There's always some kind of art medium of some sort that
Hmm.
helps portray what's going on in the game. So, or in their
Very
minds at
true.
least.
Very true. Because it's either photography. The second one, I believe, was drawing.
Yep.
Um,
Um,
I I think
third was
theater was
um,
before the storm
Before the
theater,
Storm.
or
Yes, it was.
and True Colors was
It
music.
was. Well, music and comic books, because if
That's
you
right, the
remember
comic
right,
books
with
too.
the
Oh,
kitten. So
nice.
Yeah.
yeah. Um, did want to mention that was it this chapter that at the Snapping Turtle they talked about Chloe?
Yes, that was
Yes.
like
Oh
the very
shoot.
first
Yeah.
interaction.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I
just
was gonna bring that up too.
okay.
Thank you.
I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to make sure we didn't miss that. So
No,
Hmm.
that is super important. So let's actually backtrack here. Go back to the snapping turtle, where Safi decides to have a conversation with Max because Safi knows about a picture of a blue-haired girl that Max kept around, and she's like, "So, who's the picture? Like the love interest, or?" And then you kind of have a conversation. Like, she asks like what's going on with her now, and now you have the choice to bring up how you ended Life is Strange.
hmm
Life is Strange 1 ends in a way where after everything that you do, you either have to choose to sacrifice Chloe and able to save a town from being devoured by the storm that's being caused by Max's manipulation of time, or to let the storm destroy Arcadia Bay and let Chloe live. So, that is the question I present to you. Did you go Bay or did you go Bay?
I did like that trophy. Well, I guess I'll go.
Yeah, you can go
Yep.
first.
So first off, I picked friend, because you can do friend or love interest.
Oh yeah, true. Hmm.
And I'm going based off of my original picks. So friend, and then I saved Arcadia Bay. So
Okay.
Okay.
I
Taylor.
think I did the same thing. I did friend just because in the OG I didn't ship them. I liked Max of Warren. So to me they were just super close best friends. And then I also chose to sacrifice Chloe because to me that was the right thing to do because it reset the timeline back the way it was meant to be. You didn't mess with the timeline. So I did the same things as Shane.
Well, I did say that they were, a little more than friends, but I did end up sacrificing Chloe, because I do remember that Chloe did say to Max, I believe in your decision. Whatever you choose is the
yeah.
right decision. So,
Hmm.
in my mind, Chloe wasn't holding Max accountable for letting her go.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
So we're not going to get that end of the conversation here.
I'm a little bummed that we all chose to say Chloe
Is it?
died in the beginning because I was so curious to see what the differences in the game were if
I
Chloe was alive and you drifted apart versus she's dead. Like I'm assuming there's differences.
I did have to look at some of the stuff just because I wanted to see for the podcast at least. But yeah, I guess Chloe is alive and texts Max from like Missouri or Tennessee or something like that, or St. Louis.
Oh.
Mhm.
Um, and they have interesting conversations based on if you picked friend or more than friends. So
Okay. So, like, do you know if the conversations were like they just kind of drifted apart, or?
yeah, I guess there's a picture that they have that they're together in Arizona, I think, and she says, "I love this picture, but I don't love what it represents because they got into a huge fight and then they pretty much went their separate ways." So
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So this is one of the reasons why a lot of people are upset about this game.
Hmm.
Is if you're into any knowledge of video game shipping, you know that if a video game all of a sudden comes out and says that your ship did not happen, um, that it kind of alienates the fan base, and they're
yeah,
like, "No, we aren't going to play your game anymore because, in our mind, they're living happily ever after on some road
Yeah.
trip in
I
California."
think they could have prevented that if there was an option to say you guys were in a relationship currently, like a long distance one, to make those people
Mhm.
happy. And then if you picked that, then maybe throughout the game, their text messages would be like long distance relationship. And then you wouldn't be able to romance Amanda or Vin because you'd be with Chloe. Like if that was like a secret third option, I feel like people would be happy that
yeah.
way as opposed to just being like, nah, man, they like fell apart or broke up or whatever.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
do believe there was a trophy that says you don't romance either Vin or Amanda. So maybe that
Mhm.
is an option, I guess, for the trophy wise that you didn't you maybe originally you want Chloe and that's your way
Hmm.
Yeah.
of I guess solving that issue. But
Staying
I,
loyal.
yeah,
I will say I did get that trophy. That was the direction I ended up going based on conversations in the game. Um, but yeah, I chose to sacrifice Chloe because to me, it definitely I feel was the more impactful decision in this game. Like now that Chloe is like Max has finally like gone through her age of superpowers and realized that this wasn't something that she wanted to mess with, and hence she no longer used it much
hmm
anymore. And she's
Hmm.
still kind of recovering from the fact that she lost her best friend, and now she loses another best friend, and so she's kind of reliving and re-experiencing trauma that she like later on in the game you find out that she was constantly running away from. Like she
Hmm.
went all over the place to just specifically stay like keep herself busy and not have to think about Arcadia Bay or Chloe, just kind of lose herself in her work.
Hmm. I
You
do
know,
like that later on. I mean, this is way later, so like chapter four.
you know what? That's
um,
fine. We're open conversation
yeah,
here.
okay. I do
Mhm.
like that when her and Safi that's actually one thing I did like about this game, whereas two people with powers being able to just kind of talk to each other, kind of like about how they're using their powers, how they feel, how they got it, what happened, and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of nice. Max had someone to really talk to who
yeah,
can relate because Safi had powers. But I did like that Max had brought up to Safi. I think it might have been based on decisions, but she kind of said like, um, just because you have a power doesn't really essentially mean you should use it, or like a lot of bad came from her using her
hmm
power. So you could tell she has a lot of regrets from going back in time and, kind of messing with the timeline and stuff.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I I definitely agree with that too. Like a lot of those conversations I had, I stressed that the power seemed more of a curse than a privilege
yeah.
to
Hmm.
have.
And if we, I guess I'm not gonna spoil a couple of chapters ahead, but just the fact that her power, Safi's power, also does destroy different people in this game as well. Just not probably as
Yes.
powerful as Max is, but definitely there is some tragedy with her powers.
Yes, I'm excited to talk about that later.
Yep.
All right.
All right. So now that we have kind of explored, the past with Chloe and the decision, whether or not you chose to sacrifice her or sacrifice Arcadia Bay, uh, we now experience the death of Safi. Um, we've seen Max kind of deal with her depression, and we saw that in her very awesome looking house that she, as a student, or not a student, but as like a assistant professor, seems to be able to live in. Um,
I wouldn't
Yeah, I don't
mind
know
that.
how she can afford that. That was literally my first thought in her house when I walked around. I was like, "Whoa, how are you affording this place? It's super
Yeah.
nice."
it's like here's a ski lodge, you
Yeah.
know,
Pretty
live it
much.
up. But very nice house. But you
Hmm.
get to clean it up a little bit, and Amanda drops by with some home cooking in hopes to cheer you up a little bit. And that's where you get a conversation with her where she's like, you know what? I know we said we would possibly go on a date, but I don't think you're able to. Like, you got a lot on your plate right now, and you're
Hmm.
clearly not ready for this. Um,
Hmm.
and
Nice way
so,
to say you have baggage.
yep,
Yeah.
You're mentally unwell right
Yeah.
now.
it's like, hey, you know, I care for you, but I know for a fact that it's not going to be a good relationship
Yeah.
Hmm.
if you can't really take care of yourself at the moment.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, so I appreciate Amanda's honesty, and again, it showed her like caring and her protectiveness that she is willing to even sacrifice her, like because he knew she wanted to have like that date and that relationship. However, it just wasn't the right time
Hmm.
Hmm.
right then. Um, but then we kind of go and we see how the rest of the world is taking Safi's death. We finally meet Safi's mother and the dean of the liberal arts department, Yasmin, and I definitely felt sad for her because she's struggling to like do her job, but at the same time, her only kid just passed away too.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and you kind of got the impression like that they didn't have a good relationship to begin with,
Yeah.
um, based on like some of the things you were overhearing. Um,
Hmm.
and then we also get to meet Vin, a very smug
Yes.
uh, actor slash secretary of Yasmin, and you know what? It's like he was kind of an asshole, but at the same time, I also kind of played around and was an asshole back to him. It just made like playful banter between the two. Like
Hmm.
I almost like strategically flirted in a sense of like, but in more of a sarcastic way.
Hmm.
And I think he enjoyed that, and it got him and Max close, in my opinion, for some decisions like later on in the game.
Hmm.
What did you guys think of Vin?
I wasn't the biggest fan of him. I feel like a lot of the conversations in the first 3 chapters, I feel like almost every time I talked to him, it was flirty or sexual. Like almost every single time he was like hitting on me, flirting with me, making a comment, and then I know in chapter 3 when you're at the bar, it's a bunch of sex talk. And like I feel like every time I talked to him, I was like, dude, okay, like he's coming off kind of playery playery to me or something like that.
Yeah.
Um and he did seem kind of arrogant and stuff. So I don't hate him, but I don't like him. Like to me, he's very like middle ground for me.
Yeah.
You know.
I feel like he wasn't as a fleshed out character as I would. I guess I was trying to get out of the gameplay.
Mhm.
And a lot of moments were cringeworthy with him talking. It was. it was like that, like you said, it's flirting, and I'm like, I I guess Safi has just died, and you're hitting on me, or you're making
Mhm.
these comments, and it was a little off-putting to even pursue that aspect of him. So
Yeah. No, it's again, it's part of the feeling of like a lot of these characters felt pretty rushed. Um I like I understood a little bit where he was coming from, like when you find out later of his backstory about
yeah.
coming from a poor side of town, and
Mhm.
finally like getting his break, and he wants people to like him and to love him. Like he craves that attention. He craves the lifestyle that he felt like he earned,
Hmm.
um, climbing up to the top. And like I think that's kind of why he's like always like so flirty, and like he needs that attention in a sense.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
in a sense he almost hates himself because of it as well.
Yeah. I was
um
gonna say it's funny that you mentioned that he, like, earned his way to the top because, as you know, the only reason he got his position was
mhm.
because he commented on Maya's death and lied about it,
Yeah.
and because Yasmin asked him to. So in a way, to
Mhm.
me, he didn't earn it.
he
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 did, like,
thinks
a
he earned
favor
it
for someone in
because
power.
yeah, in his mind he thought he earned it because he was willing to make the sacrifices, the moral sacrifices, and able to get him
Hmm.
to where he is. And also out of desperation, because he knew that after school, he didn't have he wasn't getting gigs.
Mhm.
He wanted to stay relevant in a arts environment, and
Yeah.
getting that secretary job was like the thing that kept him there.
Yeah. That's
And I think
true. That's
I
true.
think also him not having that, I guess, like a need to maybe lead or be just ahead of something. He started Abraxas, and which
Yep.
is the club, and he's the head of that. So maybe he wanted some power over his life, that maybe now he's got this group of people. Maybe he wasn't well liked back in the day, and now he is, because he's top dog. So
Mhm.
hmm Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to explore a little bit more of his character, as well as a few other these characters. Like, I would have loved, even like one of the main characters, Moses. I still felt like we didn't get
yeah,
enough time with Moses. It was mostly
Yeah.
Max and Safi
yeah.
were like the primary
Yeah.
focus in this.
That was one of my critiques, is I feel like you don't get enough backstory or insight into a lot of the characters. Because I know, like, Gwen was another one to me, for example. Um,
Mhm.
she comes off very jaded. I know that the one scene where she's destroying the USB, I think that was that scene.
Yep.
She kind of mentions, like, because she's trans, people look down on her and stuff, but she doesn't really give more to that, I guess. I don't know, like, to me, it was like I would was hoping for more, like, insight about her life growing up and, like, more into that, and I feel like it was touched on a little bit at times, but it's like I wanted more for
Yeah.
that character, I guess, to feel more for them, a better connection and stuff like
Hmm.
that.
hmm Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. Like, Gwen was a very interesting character. And it's like she was one that I first did not like. Like, I
Mhm,
felt like there was something very like evil about her. Like, she was definitely hiding something not good. Uh,
mhm,
but then you kind of understand, like, that little bit that you do understand, like you understand like how she struggled, to kind of get where she is, and how like she had to make some tough choices of her own,
Hmm.
that may have ended up like earning the wrath of like, or the consequences of that happened to her later on in the game.
Yeah.
um I guess if we're still kind of talking about characters that we meet, There's a character that we can meet at the statue during like check meeting all these new characters here in chapter one. Um, Lucas,
Oh,
the lit teacher,
forgot about that scene.
hmm
Yeah.
where he's giving his eulogy of Asafi. And Moses, you can tell you don't know anything really about Lucas, but you can tell Moses absolutely despises the guy.
Hmm.
So, like, how did you guys kind of listen in on his thing, or did you choose to ignore him, or
I was mean because Moses said Safi hated him
hmm
and he was trying to give a speech about Safi. And so, in honor of Safi, I went up there and called him out in front of everyone and was very
Okay.
mean to him.
huh?
I did the opposite. I avoided him. I guess to me, I didn't know much about Lucas, and I didn't want to go and stir something up, not knowing what I was stirring up. So, uh, I wanted a little
yeah,
more background before I got my facts about him, and how I wanted to perceive him.
yeah. I kind of went your route where I was like ignoring the guy, but now after like playing the game, I would love to have done what
Oh
Taylor
yeah.
did.
Yep. Thanks, Taylor.
Yep.
You're welcome.
But yeah, Lucas is a very self absorbed a character, a
Yeah.
teacher in this game that he's obviously all about himself.
Yeah.
That
It's a
is
bit
the only person he cares about.
very theatrical. Um,
Hmm
the way
I feel
he
like there's
does
themes
everything.
with like professors being full of themselves because
Yeah.
Jefferson was very
Yeah.
pompous and arrogant, and now this guy is. I'm like, man, there's just
It's
always
like, yeah, why can't we have a
every
good professor?
yeah, everyone who's successful outside of college always seems full of
Hmm.
themselves.
And I guess speaking of professors and speaking of the college here, I guess I didn't understand how come we didn't see anything of like Max's uh, room that she taught in or was part of, or she was
Yes.
said a college teacher. I didn't get that. I didn't. I'm like, shouldn't you have like a lab or an office at least where you could go
Mhm.
and you could see her stuff or put pictures up or something? You know what I mean? It was
Mhm.
just kind of strange. So
No,
Yeah.
I feel like this would happen like right after a break here, or like break from like exams is how I feel this was, or like during a period where like it was studying just before exams.
hmm.
But either way, like I felt like the teachers were all trying to grade papers.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
understood that from Safi's text, from Moses's text, from Max's
Mhm.
conversations. So maybe these are like kids that weren't like leaving to go home on campus, and
Yeah. And
That's true, because it was in December. Like I think the
yeah.
dates it
yeah,
started like December 4th and it was the 6th and stuff like that. So it
And
was early.
I
yeah.
think though you only know that like two other characters that were her students, like Reggie and Diamond, that we'll talk about later. But just
Mhm.
there wasn't any indication that she was corresponding with any students, or you know what I mean. It felt a little
Yeah.
strange.
I'll say the relationship between students and teachers was also very odd to me because, like, I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of the students treated Max like a student, like Loretta,
Yeah.
for
Yep.
example, treated her like a fellow
Yeah.
student, and she was so rude to
Oh yeah.
Max, and I was like, "This is weird." And then even Gwen, who is also a professor, Gwen was very rude to Max on several occasions, and I
Hmm.
remember all I could think about is a lot of people here are not professional. They're being disrespectful to
Yep.
professors, and the fact that that was normal, I was like, "That's
Yeah.
interesting."
It's a bit toxic work environment.
Yeah. No, definitely the student teacher relationships were definitely in question here.
Hmm.
Even just like some of the ones that like Safi had. Like the Safi would like change the grades for one of the students
Oh
that
yeah.
obviously
The cell phone
her
guy or
professor.
whatever his name
Yep.
was.
Yeah.
But I
Uh,
also enjoyed the fact that you could change Loretta's grade on Gwen's
oh
computer.
yeah, but
Yeah,
then you find out it's the wrong Loretta.
yeah,
But then you're like, oops, oh well. She probably still
yeah.
deserved it.
Wow.
It's the small things, Pat.
Mhm. Yeah, I changed the grade and I did not see any consequence of my action for this one. So yeah. All right. So we kind of met the whole pantheon of various characters that are going to be in the game. Uh and so now we go back to Max, who is still like wondering if she can use her powers, and she tries to manipulate, like look at an old photo that she had, and
Hmm.
tries to bring herself back to the past, but she realizes that her powers evolved into something different. Now, instead of going back to the past, she can travel between two different timelines or two different parallel universes. One where the current one where Safi is dead, and one where Safi is alive. And that's kind of how the plot goes for the rest of the chapters. Is now with this ability, you're trying to think, okay, we can either find out who killed Safi or find out if she's in danger and keep her alive here in the the living timeline.
Yeah, to touch
So,
back on something I said at the beginning, because I mentioned how in this one, some of the decisions stressed me out a little bit more. And the only
yep.
reason for that was because in the first one, I could rewind any bad decision, which I did a decent
Hmm.
amount. So, because I would look at something and be like, oh, which decision do I want to make? And if the character got mad, rewind, pick the other one. Like, aside from Kate's suicidal one, which you couldn't use your powers, almost every other scene in the whole first one, you could just rewind and undo it and change it. Whereas
Hmm.
this one, you can't rewind.
Hmm.
So I think that's the only reason I got a little bit stressed out at times because I was like, ooh, I cannot undo this. And if I make a character very mad, I can't undo it. So to me, I was like a little bit more thoughtful
You
in
made
these
Gwen mad,
decisions.
Yes.
didn't you?
Huh?
You made Gwen very mad, didn't you?
I tried not to, but I did at first because I was eavesdropping on the call. She hated me in one
Hmm.
timeline. And I was like, I'm sorry. But for example, like Yasmin, there were so many opportunities I could have been kind of rude to Yasmin. And I was just like, nah, man, it's not worth it. I ain't
Yeah.
screwing this up. I'm going to be nice.
Yeah. Well, luckily, but also at the same time, like the consequences of your actions did not seem to mean too much, aside from like
Yes.
some of the more major plot points. And even then, I still feel like the story went on um, the way that it wanted to
Yes.
tell itself.
There's quite a few scenes later in the chapters that we'll probably get to that no matter what decision you made, it had the same outcome. It didn't change anything.
Hmm.
And I didn't like that because in my head, I'm like, what was the point of trying to make us decide if you're just going to give us that one result
Yeah.
anyway? So,
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So now that Max has her new powers, she kind of is hanging out with her best friend Safi like the good old days. But it sounds like someone is kind of mad at Safi, threw a cow skull through her car, and so that's kind of where you start playing detective and go back and forth between the two timelines to gather various information. And for the most part, chapter two just kind of was more, I guess, playing around with the mechanics versus like being more story focused, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree with that. And then plus, like, you're also doing the whole detective thing with Alderman,
Yes,
where
we are
which
introduced to Detective
mm,
Alderman in
yeah,
this one.
which is investigating, of course, the death, and you switch between the two timelines to try to get information or try to get a camera actually that Moses unfortunately had taken from the crime scene. So
Yep. Moses has accidentally tampered with the crime scene and therefore is now under investigation by one Detective Alderman, also known as a grade A asshole.
He is so mean. Yeah.
It's
So
like
mean.
I can't be nice to this. It's like I don't want to be nice to this guy at all because he's just coming right down and like barking and like
I,
basically being the whole like reason why people wanted to fund the police in the first place. He was
Yeah, he
super racist. He
oh my god.
was like one had a one tracked mind and
yeah,
just
he
He
had to
got
fill his
worse
quota.
every interaction. Like by the time we got up to the Outlook, he
Yeah.
was even worse. Just getting meaner, meaner, meaner. And I was like,
hmm
dude, like,
what the hell's wrong with you?
exactly. Like, oh my god.
hmm Yeah. I do like that chapter two was probably some of our good moments of our best moments with Moses.
Yes.
We definitely got to know a lot about his character, about like how and just kind of seeing how Safi's like death, like how hard he's taking it. Like
Yeah.
for him, he I feel like he had no one to talk to. Uh, like
Yeah, because
he,
Max wasn't responding to his
hmm
messages and stuff.
hmm and so I felt really bad about that too. It's like he obviously is being super affected by this.
hmm
He isn't talking to anyone. He made a small mistake, which now is getting him looked at as the possible killer. And all this guy wants to like all he was just being like a good friend to Safi. Like if you investigated his office, you could see like just the various like clues of like him and Safi's relationship and just how like they would play or like just how close they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing I did like in that chapter was like in the living timeline, you read something about him and Safi were planning to draw the Gemini twins
Correct.
on the
Mm-hmm.
walls, and then when you go to the dead timeline, they're up there. And to
hmm
me, I was like, oh, so he took like after Safi died, he must have taken that upon himself to put the
hmm
Gemini twins up
Yeah.
there to kind of like honor her memory and stuff like that. And I thought that was really sweet.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess my favorite part of it, it might be silly, but I like Hot Dog Man. Hot Dog Man
Oh,
is like in every Life is Strange, and I really like how they just incorporated it as
that
bait,
was the most annoying
basically.
ornament ever. I've walked by that ornament 100 times. I was like, stop it.
I'll agree that's the most annoying version of Hot Dog Man. Of but I still liked it because if you play all of them, it's kind of cool just to see it in all of them. So
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Max finds out in this chapter, though, she also has another ability. She can bring things from other timelines and, switch them around. And we find that out with the telescope, that she can all of a sudden, like, now take the telescope from one timeline and replace it with the boxes from the other one.
hmm
Uh, so it's I don't know why they don't really explain how this like ability is working
Mhm.
or
yeah,
why it's doing what it's doing.
I didn't understand it was changing the in between timelines at first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was just confused what it did. Like, it was like because initially it took the unmade telescope and made it. So in
Yeah.
my
mm,
head, I was like, "Oh, it just made the telescope for you. It built it." And then the other one it unbuilt, and then later on it's like, "Oh no, 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 we're switching between timelines." And I was like, "Oh, to me that wasn't clear." I was like, "I didn't realize that's what you were
yeah,
doing." And then also on that, it was a unique ability, but I think she only used it what 2 times?
Yeah.
I
You
think
only
in the
use
game because she did it at the
yeah.
icy pond.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's
So
this little side thing you could have done with a bathroom key.
mm,
I think it might have been in this chapter. Um
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
okay, I
Where
didn't do
like
that then.
yeah, there's a guy that needed to use the bathroom and these guys kind of locked him out so that he would have to go outside and do his business out there, and when they would do his business the idea was they would assassinate him. because that's some game that they were
Oh,
playing.
Yeah,
yeah, I walked by them, but I didn't go do the
yeah,
bathroom thing. I just overheard them and was like, okay, have fun with your game. Bye.
Yep. Nope. The idea is you took the key from one timeline and placed it on the key rack in the other timeline where the guy
Mm,
stole the key.
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. It little weird puzzles like that.
Hmm.
Um, right. Am I missing? Oh yeah. I'm like, am I missing anything from chapter two? Yeah, we're missing the ending of chapter two.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that shocked me. I did not expect that.
yeah. This is you get the camera and you go down into the black room to develop the film on it to see if Safi took any last pictures, just to see what happened. And sure enough, she had one last picture of Max hovering over her with a gun. And it's like, wait a minute, Max is the one that kills Safi? And Moses, of course, freaks out.
Mhm.
Yeah. That was a little tough for to swallow for me because I felt really bad for Moses, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shoot, like the only person that he can go to is now his suspected best friend's killer.
Yeah, I felt bad for Moses. I'm like, this guy cannot win. It's, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
So now we moved on to chapter three, where we are visited by Detective Dick, and he's like, I got my eye on you. I know you get there's something very weird about you, Max. Just like you happened to be around when your best friend got shot.
Oh
And
my God. When he
Like,
brought up the Arcadia Bay
yep.
stuff, I'm like, dude, that
uh-huh.
is a stretch. That is a huge stretch. Like, come on.
Mhm.
Like,
It's like trouble seems to follow you, Max. What do you have to say about that, huh? It's like,
Life is
God,
strange.
life is strange. Now get the hell out of my house. Uh, yeah.
We did
Uh,
we didn't mention either where they she went back up to the lookout and there was flowers in the snow.
oh yeah,
First
when you
off,
uncover them.
Safi had died too, which is interesting as well.
yeah,
So
and you know what? That also never really got explained about because that's
no,
like
Yes.
from no one's power. With
Yeah.
that
the
one.
the only thing I could think of is like another timeline was merging too, and it was spring in that timeline or something. I don't know. It
Huh.
just the thought of there could be multiple timelines and uh,
Well, wasn't that because wasn't a Max from another timeline the one leaving the weird Polaroids all over the place?
I
That's
I would
that's
think so.
speculation.
So that
So
would be a third timeline then. I would
yeah,
think if there's another Max, because we know it's Max because she said that's my handwriting and stuff. Who was
yeah,
leaving
yep.
the
Yeah.
Polaroids? So I could be right. Maybe it is a weird spring timeline or something.
Or
It
was
is weird
where
that we.
was Max in the other timeline was also my question because
Hmm.
she's going between the two. There has to be a Max in that timeline as well.
I was actually thinking
Yeah.
about that too.
Like
So
that was the first impression when you saw the pictures, like, oh hey, this is the other timeline Max, and she's somehow
Mhm.
evil.
yeah,
Um but yeah, we find out in this chapter what that really was. But before we got there, we what did we do? We decided to tell Moses that we had superpowers, and it was pretty fun. Like trying to um,
hmm
convince him of it. Like
Oh yeah,
how he freaks
him
out when he
doing the
first.
weird pose.
yeah,
Yeah, he's like, okay, I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna go into the other world. You do something that I
hmm
would not be able to see, and
Mhm.
I'll come back and tell you what you did. And
yeah.
then you do it first time. He's like, I was so freaked out that you just disappeared that I forgot to do what I was supposed to do.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Um, is it this chapter too that Max uses her other power where she goes into the photo and uh, like
I
finds
think
out
that was chapter.
was that
Are
later
you
on?
right? No, I think it was that this chapter or the chapter two or three that she
Okay,
did that.
yeah.
Where
So
she
some
jumped in a photo.
She
And then it
jumped
showed the
into the
storm
photo
behind
that she
her.
got, the one where she's pointing the gun at Safi. She went into the photo and then talked to Safi, and then came back out.
Oh, then it was chapter 3 because 2
Yeah,
ended
it
with
would
her
have
finding
been
Pluto.
chapter 3
Yeah,
because
Okay.
but
yeah,
it showed the storm again behind her, and you're like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
that storm is
hmm
back again." And then
Yeah.
Safi's sitting there like, "Shoot me, go ahead, shoot me," or whatever. And
Hmm.
she
yep.
comes back from it.
This is the perfect the perfect picture, and like do what you have to do, Max. So you kind of get some context of why Max, ended up shooting Safi there.
Yeah.
Was to prevent some disaster from befalling the town.
Yeah.
So you go and you're trying to get Moses back onto your side by sharing him the truth that you have superpowers, which first he thinks you're pulling his leg, and
Hmm.
then you actually use it, and then he thinks it's like really cool, and wants to know a little bit more about like how it works. But then you also get a visit from Detective Dick while you're out there, and he basically goes completely rogue cop on you, and starts threatening both you and Moses with. Did he take out his gun at this point?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
Hmm.
he
was
did.
aiming it at you.
Yeah, but then we got to see this weird like shadow apparition of like another alderman, which he also saw, and they ended up touching each other, and it like caused this whole like spatial time collapse where Alderman was started getting absorbed into himself. And did you guys try to reach out and save him, or did you, say, reap what you sow?
I tried to save him, but like I said, he died anyways, so
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
didn't
did the
matter.
same thing. Um, yeah, it was a really strange moment, I thought, but
hmm
I feel like that was almost a foreshadowing of the two timelines coming together. Um, how later on they'll explain that, or not explain it, but kind of
hmm
hint of what happens as the two timelines merge.
Well, it's weird because nothing else like that happens in the game.
That too.
Like it's like they both of those forms touch. He gets like spatially collapsed, and then he's like considered to never have existed in the first place.
Yeah, that's one of the plot points I didn't like because I feel like it just
Yeah.
like they made it seem like he never existed, no one can find records on him, and then it was just like it just never got brought up again, I feel like. Like it was just like to me mute point. I was like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
okay.
It's like all this Detective Alderman story just ended up giving Moses a gray streak that Moses found really cool later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that this was for me. This definitely felt like one of the most unnecessary plot points
Mhm.
in this
Yeah.
game. Was the whole Detective Alderman story?
Yeah, because I feel like if it came back into play later in the story in some way, it'd be like, "Oh, okay." But
Yeah.
to me,
Like
it was just odd
mm,
that
I I was surprised. Like Yasmin was talking to the cops or whatever the authorities to look for Safi's murderer, but then later on they don't mention no one's not looking for her anymore. Or, I mean, it's
It's not. Yeah, it's not like they don't know about Detective Alderman because Moses remembered Detective Alderman. So it's
hmm
like, why is all of a sudden he just does not exist anymore?
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know.
That's true. Maybe it's because you guys witnessed it or around it, but
You were in
I
that
don't know.
moment,
Mhm.
so
I don't know. So after this, Max decides she needs to go and talk to Gwen, um, because she feels that Gwen is holding all the cards as to why, um, she knows what exactly happened to Safi. Like what was like some sort of big secret that Gwen had about Safi. And it involves more of the time traveling puzzles, and it wasn't just Gwen that we were finding a lot of things about. We were also finding out a lot about Lucas as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Oh,
mhm,
yes, there is a big reveal in this chapter. That's right.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There was a couple that we start understanding why, um, what enemies Safi might have had, or we find out that Gwen was the one that canceled Safi's book deal. So, Safi has a reason to be mad there. But then we also find out that Safi was also harassing Lucas for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And like going to Lucas's son and telling him about things that Lucas's son should not, understand. So Lucas was trying to get a restraining order against Safi. And so to me, this was like starting to picture like there's something about Safi now that
Hmm.
I maybe we don't know like the full
Yeah.
picture
Yeah, that
about
started making
Safi.
me
Yeah.
question
And
Safi's character big time. I'm like, I don't think we fully know her, like how we think
correct.
she is.
And
Mm-hmm.
circling back, she got the cow skull thrown through her window,
Yep.
and we find out that Lucas owned that cow skull, and then later you find out that his book has a cow skull in it. Um, but we also find out that later on it's not him that threw it through the window as well.
Hmm.
So it's like there's more. She's
Yep.
pissing more people off than we know.
Hmm.
Yep. Because we also now know, or we're also learning about Vin and
Hmm.
Safi, who originally we thought they were just like, well, the only real connection they had was that Safi's mother was Vin's boss.
Hmm.
And so that's maybe how they connected. But no, it turned out they were sleeping together.
Yep.
Hmm.
And there is still even more history around that it just like it almost became an exposition dump of like Safi and all the things that we did not know about Safi that is definitely calling into a lot of questions here.
Yeah. And
Um,
then this is also like you're starting to see Safi in a different light. And to me,
Hmm.
I was like, I though I didn't like these other characters as much, I'm starting to not like Safi as much either because of this. So,
Hmm.
and then also you talk to Yasmin here as well, and she lies to you about Safi being friends with Maya Okada, and you're
Hmm.
trying to figure out why that's the case as well. So,
yep, the name Maya is dropped, and we eventually learn some very very uh, bad things about stuff that happened. Actually, yeah, we learned it in this chapter. We learned a
Hmm.
lot. Chapter three, I think, basically, again, it's with the pacing of the game where chapter two didn't really push the story forward. Chapter three almost dropped, like, okay, this is really what's going on. And
hmm
then chapters four and five end up like, trying to clean up after that.
Yeah, chapter three, I think, was by far the longest chapter. It felt never ending to me. It was such a
Mhm.
long chapter, and then
yeah,
afterwards, it was just interesting because four felt short in comparison, but a lot
Yeah.
happened in
yes,
three
Yeah.
for sure.
And it was like a lot of back and forth, too. It's like you went back and forth among the same characters to get more of like the backstory. And you
Hmm.
find out that Lucas might have plagiarized, like his success might have been off the plagiarism of Maya, who was very close to Safi, who Ben lied about, having any like connection between Safi and Maya. And Gwen then was the one who tried to protect everyone by just canceling the book deal that
yeah,
was a book based on Maya
hmm
and the reveal of
Hmm.
the plagiarism that Lucas did.
Yeah, that
Like,
part shocked me. I was like, I did not expect that at all when I opened the golden typewriter and I picked it up and I was like, oh, is he plagiarizing? And then when it was confirmed, I was shocked actually. I was like,
hmm
oh my God, what a terrible person. I can't
yeah,
believe he did that.
Yeah, I almost was thinking a little bit more in the Life is Strange route where it's like, is this like one of those like student teacher affairs that like went wrong, but then
Hmm.
luckily they went a different route there and went
Yeah,
with the
Mhm.
and
plagiarized.
what they mentioned that Safi babysat his son. I thought maybe there was some kind of affair going on at first because I'm like,
Hmm.
why would he file this restraining order? You know, all that stuff. And then when that came into light and finding out that uh, she was friends with Maya and um, her book deal got canceled and all that. It is all coming together.
Hmm. So yeah, Safi obviously has some massive grudges against these people. It's a possibility that one of them is trying to stop Safi because she's, a threat to them. Uh, but we don't figure before we can figure that out. Max decides to go and Safi confronts Max, after all this investigation, and basically is like, why are you looking into all my business? Like, stay away from me. We need to be apart for a little bit here.
Hmm.
Which
Mhm.
leads most people into depression, where they go and they start drinking it off at the nearby bar. And
Yeah,
I like this scene actually.
I
yeah.
like this one.
Well, I
The
don't know.
depression or the bar?
Well, the bar, I guess it depends, because if you romanced Amanda, I don't know who you chose. Well, Patrick, you said you didn't romance either of
I
them.
didn't romance either, but we did go on the date first. But when it came to the part
Okay.
where it's like, do you kiss her?
Hmm.
I kind of remembered back to what Amanda said, that I just had a lot on my mind, and probably this would not be the best time for it. So I held off there.
Okay. But
Hmm.
I did think that scene, I thought the whole fake date where they were imagining a show and
Oh, that was
stuff and
cool.
making
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
up, it was so cute.
that
I
was.
loved it. It was
Yeah.
funny and cute, very sweet. And I liked that there was such a lighthearted moment, kind of like at that point
And
in the game with
and
everything
the
going
fact that
on.
you collected three things
Hmm.
through the thing and
Yes,
then
it made me laugh.
yeah reiterated it afterwards was really
Mhm.
interesting.
Yep. Did you guys kill the lead singer?
Yeah, I didn't
Yes.
know there was an option to save the lead singer because I clicked to go catch her,
Oh, you did?
but I did, but
Okay.
then Amanda's like, "Oh, well, you have an ice pack in your hand."
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. The ice pack and
yeah, so she's
you
like, "You
can't
can't
reach
catch
out.
her." Yeah, so she died anyway. And
Okay.
then I saw afterward in the results there's a possibility to save the singer, and I was like,
What?
"How?"
If you don't pick up the ice pack, I think
Or
Oh,
maybe if you don't do
earlier.
thrashing, maybe is the thrashing
okay. That's
option
right. It
what
was a
maybe
mosh
that's what
pit
gives you
or the stand on the
stand
side.
and
Yeah.
watch.
And of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and of course, I love the Shaka Bra tagline that they used in there as well.
Yeah, I like how Amanda's like,
Well,
okay, I'll pretend
okay.
I understood what you said.
uh, well, it's interesting that the lead singer dies regardless. I just watched her try to crowd surf, but no one caught her. It's like she died the way she would have wanted to.
Yeah. Oh, and didn't she get like a Vikings
A
Yeah,
something
Viking
like we had a
funeral. Yeah.
Viking
Viking
funeral.
funeral? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I love that.
That was cute. I love that. Yeah. And then in my file, I chose the romance Amanda. So I did go through with the kiss because that's the living timeline. So
Yep.
I feel like in that one, everything's hunky dory happy. And their kiss was actually really nice and sweet and awesome. So I was happy I did that.
Aw.
I was like, yay.
Aw. Shane, did you go for her?
I did. Vin just I I couldn't stand him, so I'm like I gotta go one route with this, or I'm gonna have a boring story. So, well,
Yeah.
so yeah, Amanda, I like Amanda. Amanda was a pretty cool character. So
Yeah.
It did
No.
make me laugh that like right after you have the option to kiss Amanda, you go into the dead world and then immediately it's like, "Do you want to kiss Vin?" I was like, "Wow.
You
What
want
are
to
you
go
making me
into a
do?"
trophy and
I
get
think
like
I
both of them?
skipped him at the bar. I'm like I saw him and I walked away. I'm like, yep,
Oh, well,
Aw.
that's the conversation I was talking about that was all sexual. He was doing
Smash
smash
or
or pass
pass.
with
oh
every professor. He was
that
like, "Smash or
Mhm.
pass Gwen, smash or
wasn't
pass Lucas."
was that that chapter? I thought that was
That
It
later
was
in the
that
was.
game.
chapter.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I did talk to him in that one, but I avoided everything he threw at me. So
Me too. I
Mhm.
passed on everyone. And then when it got to him, I was like, ugh, like, I
yeah,
don't know. When it was
yeah.
leading up to that, I was like, please don't lead up to a kiss. And when it said that, I was like, no. I
It's
was like, no.
like you are drunk, sir. It's like no hard. There are no hard feelings during Smash or Pass.
Mm.
Yep, and then the game's like Vin was disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it would be in like I would like to go through again, try and collect the trophies that I missed here, such as the Romance Vin or
Yeah.
Romance them both. Because it does kind of change some options that happen later
Hmm.
on in the game
Yeah.
with like characters and characters coming together.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I decided neither of them. Like I like that Vin was opening up a little bit there, but at the same time, it's like student teacher probably not a good thing here.
Hmm.
And then again with Amanda, like Amanda, it's like you're too broken right now. This is not a good place for you. Like maybe another time.
Hmm.
And that's it was such a beautiful conversation too that they had because that's kind of how
Oh.
Max goes is like I really want to, but it would not be right now. And like
Hmm.
Amanda's like, why do I always find like why am I always attracted to the broken ones?
Hmm.
And it's
Hmm.
like Max is like, I'm not saying it can't happen, but it just I need some time.
Hmm.
So it left it open, but like just not now.
Hmm.
And then we go home, find out that someone broke into our house. We go downstairs, unless of course you had the cat DLC, in which case you tried to calm the cat a little bit.
Yeah.
That
I
you
didn't even
had.
know there was a cat DLC.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a $10 cat DLC
Yep.
that a lot of people are very mad about.
Yeah.
That
$10?
Yeah.
That's
because
a lot for a cat.
it's a
Yeah.
$10 cat DLC that gave you some optional things to wear, and then like maybe 5 minutes of cutscenes with a cat.
And then there's a cat uh, scene at the end too. So
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah,
Okay.
with Loretta. Yeah.
mm-hmm, yeah, which kind of gave me a little more respect to Loretta.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did
Okay.
have the cat DLC because I got the Ultimate Edition, which gave me 2 weeks early
I
access.
nice.
Hmm.
I did not get that. I looked it up because I'm like I heard some of the reviews on it and I'm like I don't know if I want to pay for
I
that.
don't know. Yeah,
So
$10 sounds like a lot to me. I'd probably pay $5 for cat DLC. Maybe 8, but 10 I was like, whoa, 10's a lot for a kitty cat.
Yeah, yeah, it probably wasn't worth it altogether, but it was nice to have a cat
yeah.
for
So I
a little
see
bit.
your cat's sitting on the couch with you. You
Hmm.
gotta
I
represent that.
know.
I'm a
Where's
cat
my dog DLC so I could have Naya in the game with me?
guy.
And my dog Daphne.
she
Yeah.
she would have barked at the intruder. Bark, bark, bark.
Yeah. Well, would she have though? Because the intruder, we find out,
Oh yeah.
is the other Max.
But she wouldn't smell like you. I feel like dogs
True.
recognize the owner. Should I be like, something's off
Mhm.
about you?
No, Quentin apparently did not like the other Max. Like Quentin was like very scared.
Mhm. Because
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
there was
I
two,
named the cat
Daisy and
Quentin.
Quentin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you end up chasing this other Max all the way to a lake where the other
hmm.
Max then falls through the ice, and you rescue other Max, but then by pulling her out and then switching the lakes around to the unbroken lake. And we find out that other Max is not other Max, but actually Safi.
I did not expect that at all.
Nope. Safi has superpowers as well. Her power is that well, she can make herself look like any other form
Yeah.
by manipulating how people perceive her, which is kind of a cool superpower, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
it definitely answered a lot of questions that were going on
Mhm.
in the game.
Yes. Yeah. At
I
the
was,
beginning of chapter 4, when you're questioning her, helped
yeah,
explain so much.
and
Oh yeah.
and in the one timeline, Gwen is being arrested for selling drugs, and then you find out that that was Safi
Hmm.
posing as her. So it kind of explains that whole timeline.
Yep. So yeah, chapter 4. We are now warming up by the fire and basically having superpower talks between two now superpowered humans, and kind of explaining each other's story of like what happened and why are you doing this. And like you said, Taylor, it was a really cool scene because Safi finally feels like she has someone that understood her,
Hmm.
because Max had superpowers. It's like that's so cool.
Yeah.
I knew
Hmm.
there was a reason why I liked you, and yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, that conversation that we're talking about, because that was the one that revealed a lot. So Shane already mentioned, and that she talks about how she impersonated Gwen to get
Mm.
her in trouble for
mhm,
selling drugs to kids because
Um,
Gwen canceled her
yep.
book, and then you find out she impersonated Lucas to tell the
Yep.
lie to his kid because she thought he was involved. She was impersonating Max because she thought Max was
Yep.
involved. And for
mhm.
me, I already wasn't the biggest fan of Safi, but after this, I really lost respect for her because
Right.
I'm like, you were pretty much using your powers to get revenge on everyone and screw up all of their lives in a negative way. Like, I did not like
Mm.
that she was messing up Lucas's relationship with his son, that
Mhm.
she's getting Gwen in trouble for selling drugs, which is a big
Mm.
deal because I'm assuming you can go to jail and stuff for that. Um, so for me, that changed my perspective because I made Max. I think there was one option where Max can kind of call
Yeah.
her out and be like, that was not necessary. And I used that option. And Safi didn't even like feel bad. She was just like, well, I thought it was necessary to get back at Lucas. Like to me, it
Mhm.
was fine. And I'm like, I don't like that you're using your powers for bad things. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, I agree. Uh, and then I guess just you find more about Maya. So I guess I get I get being kind of mad that all these people have done something wrong to you, but
Mhm.
you are really messing up people's lives too at the same time. And I guess I don't know what aspect I would take either, depending on the situation. But um, definitely it definitely was like I guess heartbreaking to see Safi in this take this whole spin. Um,
Mhm.
but I did like that they connected the bottle cap from the first episode to do the
Yep.
questions. So
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. Then, of course, Safi asked Max the big question. Would you actually kill me? What'd you guys say?
I said no. I wouldn't have shot her now.
I said yes.
I
Wow.
also said yes. I'm like, if it was absolutely necessary, because in
I
my opinion, Max already did that once. She sacrificed Chloe to save Arcadia Bay, and we know that. I keep forgetting the name of the campus town.
Blackwell Academy. Or
Well,
are you
no,
In
talking
that
about
Arcadia Bay.
Arcadia
no,
Bay?
not Arcadia Bay, the new town.
The
Oh, I just know
It's
it's
like
in Vermont.
Calamont or something. Calmont,
Oh, Caledon.
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 Caledon,
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah.
Yes, and we know, like, based on that one vision, that Caledon's about ready to be ripped up by a storm.
Mhm.
Um,
True. I guess the difference in the first one is she didn't kill Chloe herself. She just let it unfold the way it was supposed to be. Like she kind of stood
yeah.
there and let Chloe die. Whereas this one, I feel like it's different actually being the one holding the gun and killing your friend yourself
Mm-hmm.
versus watching it unfold and like standing by. So
Hmm.
I don't
Fair
know. I
enough.
feel like that would be hard to do to show up and be like, yeah, I'm going to shoot you now. Like, I don't know. I don't think I could do that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, and so you find out that Lucas did some really bad things. Well, you already knew Lucas did some bad things, and so you decided to help Safi out with a revenge plot against Lucas and to kind of call him out at the big Krampus party at the Snapping Turtle that would be happening the next day.
Mhm.
And so that's what the majority of this chapter is getting that set up. And this is where
Yeah.
a lot of I feel like decisions kind of came down to whether or not you'd get people to actually help you out with
Mm-hmm.
this. Um,
Mhm.
my journey was successful, even though I didn't get Gwen on my side. Like Gwen
That
decided
was
to just
mine
kind of leave.
too.
Same.
Yeah. I had to look up, I Googled how to get Gwen on your side.
Hmm.
And I guess you were supposed to take the USB out of the thing and
Okay,
she would watch it later. But I let it burn because I thought I was being supportive at the time by letting her burn the USB drive.
Yeah.
that's what I would do.
Um, but yeah, that was mine. I was same as you. I couldn't get Gwen on my side either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but luckily you didn't need to. Because what you do instead is once, like, you start revealing that Lucas um, plagiarized his book, and he starts, trying to disprove it. But then then Safi has the option of going up as Vin because Vin kind of chickens out halfway through his part of it, and or go up as Safi and to speak the truth. I said you should go up as yourself and let people, hear
Hmm.
from your own mouth.
I did the same thing.
Me
Hmm.
as well.
Yep. And so people in the end, basically turned on Lucas, and Safi got her revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And Lucas decided to have a quick talk with Safi, which apparently bad things were said. Safi stormed out, and you kind of go and chase her because all of a sudden, like, everyone is like screaming in pain from like massive headaches, and a blizzard starts forming outside, a really bad one.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
I was gonna say at this point, this is where I all the way up to the point I really liked the game, and then after this it got really rushed and fast paced and kind of uh, I guess it didn't tie all the knots for me as we proceed from this point. So
okay.
I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I liked the Krampus party, and then it started to get rushed.
That's
At
what
least
I
my
mentioned to one of my friends too. Yeah, I felt the
okay,
ending
yeah.
was a bit fast. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we catch up to Safi, and Safi is holding a gun to her mom, Yasmin, because we find out it was really Yasmin who canceled the whole book deal and told Gwen to do so. Um, and so Safi felt very betrayed and wanted to shoot her mom. Did you guys step in, or how'd you resolve this?
I tried to talk her down,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the result might be the same either case,
Did she get
depending.
shot?
She still
Yeah,
got shot.
I talked her
Um,
down as well, and yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, I rushed Safi, which ended up hitting her arm, but like hitting Yasmin's shoulder.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think the same thing happened
Yeah.
if you talk her down. Yeah.
Okay, but then Safi loses control of her powers, and the storm is starting to hit the university town, and you're basically down to the decision, or you come to that point where it's like, all right, you have to either kill her or watch the town suffer. And it's strange, the game actually doesn't make you choose. Like, Max
Hmm.
just straight up goes like, no, no, this isn't, I'm not choosing between two sucky outcomes again. and decides to jump into the storm. So she's that was like the sign that she was not running away from her problems
Hmm.
anymore. Like, so some good growth here from Max, in my opinion. Um, any thoughts about this before we move on to chapter 5?
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
Nope.
All right. Chapter 5 was a very linear chapter. This one is we uh, we kind of like we have to try and save Safi. The storm has somehow merged the two timelines together, but in a way where like everyone has like a piece of Safi in them, and you have to use the double exposure feature of your Polaroid camera to remove Safi from the said person.
I'm glad that came in handy because I had no idea what the point was the entire game of
Yeah.
doing double exposure
Yeah,
on my Polaroids. I was like, why am I doing? Like, what's the
it's like
purpose?
yeah, it's like this isn't even art. This is just ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I I did feel that as you did that double exposure, you were pulling Safi out of everyone's lives because Safi has uh, intruded on everyone's lives because of the whole Mayakata thing, and I think
Hmm.
you're just
Mm.
trying to reverse the effects. That's kind of what they were trying to go for calling it double exposure. So
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, no, I was like thinking you were separating all the other pieces out of Safi so that it would just be her left. But it's interesting how you reverse that
yeah,
explanation.
Hmm.
Yep. So we get scenes with Moses. We get scenes with Gwen. Um, what's also strange is that everyone kind of like has both memories now
yeah,
at this point, and so they're all like kind of freaking out that they have these like two thoughts of memories going through their head, um,
Hmm.
and don't know what exactly to believe.
yeah,
And of course, then they're the people who are been intruded by Safi, which are really like lost it. Um, the Moses one was was interesting to me. The one that was freaky was the callback to like all the Blackwell
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
situations.
Yeah, when they went back
yeah,
Hmm.
to the academy and Interactive Jefferson's
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that was freaky.
bathroom stalls and the blue
Hmm.
butterfly,
hmm,
and
Hmm.
having Max have to relive the trauma of her best friend being shot,
yeah,
but only
Hmm.
seeing her as the shooter and Safi as being Chloe at
yeah,
that
Hmm.
moment, or the trauma that she felt when she was tied up into the Jefferson's chair,
yeah,
and the
Hmm.
fact that you had to like relive those like moments again.
yeah.
I can't imagine having to relive that stuff. Like,
Hmm.
no. And it was very disturbing in the first game, so
Hmm.
I can't imagine.
Yep, still kind of disturbing in the second one. But and then you had the hotel room, which was
I
very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how. So that was like the first new area that we got in a few of the chapters. You know,
Hmm.
we didn't have many scenes, I guess, to explore in this game. I thought,
Mhm.
but as you went through the hotel multiple times and everything started to turn into like just an art piece on the wall,
Hmm.
just I don't know, just remind me of just how you're reaching you're trying to get out of this room trying to escape, but the more you move forward the less tangible items you have to escape this room. So
Yeah, and it was kind of bringing on to her mentality of like she was getting tired of
yep,
running,
Mhm.
and so she finally like she breaks free. You finally manage to get into the final piece of Safi, which is in Max. So Max gets her selfie uh, with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Throwback. She used
Mm-hmm.
to take selfies.
Yep.
Yep. And that, I guess, quells the storm afterwards. Like, all of a sudden, we're back into we're in present day,
Mm-hmm.
but we're also in a present day where the timelines have now converged. So Safi is still alive, but everyone has had all their memories to this point now from both timelines. The storm has ravaged Caledonia. Caldon? Yes?
Caledon. Yeah.
Caledon,
Caledon.
thank you. I'm like,
Caledonia.
I'm mixing Concordia and Caledon. I've played too much Mario and Luigi right now. Yeah. We see that the storm has caused some massive damage. Like, so in a sense, we don't have two sucky timelines. Like, we have kind of the middle ground where
Mm-hmm.
both, like, Safi was saved, but also, the town wasn't completely destroyed in this. And we kind of get the outcome of like the various characters in
Yeah.
this.
And
Some of them are good,
I was
others not so much.
I was gonna say I liked going around the North Quad there and just listening in on people's conversations of like the one guy that or one girl that said, I went for this job, but I also went for school, so I don't know, do I have this job or do I have, you know, I'm still in school? Did I just, should I do part time or
So funny, actually.
yeah.
uh, yeah.
And also I like the scene with Maya Okada's like cherry blossom tree too that was there.
Mhm.
Um, that that I took a picture of that with the sunset behind it, and that was
Oh,
my
how pretty.
favorite picture that I took in the game.
Hmm.
Nice.
So
No, I took the picture of Max reflecting on the bench, and she just kind of is like looking up and like just has like a almost like a tired smile on her face.
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh.
which I'm probably going to use as a post later on here tonight
nice.
after we're finished here. But before this happened, we had one more final confrontation with Safi, and this kind of is what sets possibly future titles here. We get like we find out Safi's like, hey, we have superpowers. We can do whatever the hell we want with this. Like, she's kind of going, like, she almost didn't learn anything from her choices
Hmm.
of what just happened and the fact that she almost destroyed herself
Yeah,
and the town. Um, and so she kind of like she looks to Max like she's happy that Max understands her, and she's like, "Hey, you should join me. We have like we are two of the same kind. We should journey together and like just use our powers for whatever we can do with them." And so we're given a choice. Do we, you know, agree with Safi, or do we, kind of turn her down? And so I'm kind of curious which way you guys went.
I turned her down just because, from my perspective, kind of like I mentioned earlier, Max kind of already explained that there were like consequences when you use your powers, and just because you have them doesn't mean you should use them. And she's seen the type of pain, just possible destruction and stuff that can happen from using these powers. Now she's seen it again.
Mhm.
hmm
So I don't think Max would want to join her in using the powers to change the world because she's seen the side effects of using these powers. So I
yeah.
said no.
I also said no, and even though I before you say, like I said, I have your back in a
Mhm.
different scene. This I couldn't choose that, and from the standpoint of how this whole Life is Strange game went. It went from Safi's death to Mai Okada's death to like a uh, Professor X Magneto vibe, where
Yeah,
you've got these two opposing
it's like,
factions, and this is how it starts. It's just like what's
mhm,
going on here, and then the defiance of her turning into Max as she walks away. I'm like, what damage could she do as Max? Could she be going to Arcadia Bay and causing
mhm,
problems, or what happens with that choice?
yeah. No, it's definitely like setting up for the Life is Strange verse.
Yeah.
um, that some of the other games were like, I remember when they first, like, when they introduced Life is Strange 2, the idea was not to focus on one character but to focus on other stories of
Yeah.
people that have unique abilities.
Hmm.
um and
Yep.
just, yeah, but now it seems like we have kind of now switched to a, we're gonna like, Safi's going out there now to find other people who are just like her to, bring to her side. And now Max is like, well, I'm going to be there. Well, maybe I guess it depends on choices, but I said at the end that I wasn't going to leave, that I
Yeah.
was, going to stand up to Safi the next time she comes around.
Hmm.
And so, it's kind of like, all right, well, this might be the future of Life is Strange. Maybe we'll see the
Yeah.
return of Alex and, the brothers, and,
Yeah.
you know, who knows. So
I,
overall, it was a very interesting ending where it
yeah.
Life is Strange has always been about like the personal, like, people finding their own identity,
Hmm.
and being able to, like, if you had these superpowers, what would you do? Would you make the right choices with them? And now it seems like we're almost not leaning on the human side, but more the superpower side, and
Yeah.
like we're gonna create the next Avengers, or like you
Yeah.
said, X
And
Men versus.
Hmm.
I was going to say, so we didn't talk much about Diamond, and
Hmm.
Diamond uh, at Snapping Turtle at the end there wants to know more of what just happened, and Max said, we basically a generic answer, and but she'll be ready next time, of course, if Safi comes back. Um, I feel like at the end credits, as I'm sure you guys watched, the just that pushed her off to more of a Safi direction, I think. So
Yeah,
Hmm.
because doesn't Safi kind of recruit Diamond
yeah,
Yep.
or reach out to her?
so yeah, with the she's got the bloody nose just like Max
Hmm.
Yeah.
gets, and so we're curious what Diamond's powers are, and I don't know if you guys have any ideas of what she might have
There
or any
was.
indication.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
No, it's like I'm thinking of all the scenes that had Diamond in it, and while she was manipulative, she, didn't
Yeah,
come off as like having any kind of power.
yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like I'd have to really think back on her scenes, but nothing like stood out for me.
Hmm. So, I mean, maybe that could be the next route that they go, is like maybe it's Diamond's story. Like, I don't know where they could go with this right now. They
yeah.
opened up a whole new window, and it's like, will they focus on Max, or are they going to focus on other stories again?
And who knows? Maybe even the next story won't have Max in it, or they reference Max, but maybe two Life is Strange games from now has another Max
Hmm.
story. But
Hmm.
yeah, I really do think like with that ending, the possibilities of recruiting Life is Strange 2 characters or Life is Strange True Colors characters, or just any. Maybe they somehow tie in Captain Spirit, Adventures of Captain Spirit somehow. I don't know how they would do it, but uh, just they could totally make this into like a series of good versus evil, or I don't know.
Yeah, but then would you ask yourself, is that Life is Strange?
I
Because again,
no, it
yeah.
it it's got like the formula is 5 chapters and a some kind of weird, strange tale to tell. So you definitely have to keep that formula, otherwise it's not gonna be the
Mhm.
same. So,
Yeah, and to me, it's also the human struggle that
hmm
every single character that we've had in these games, their personal struggle and whether or not like they come out stronger in the end because of this.
yeah,
I don't know. It's very mixed. I liked it, but I also don't know if I like the direction it's going.
hmm
I ha- I guess one of my things was like from the first Life is Strange. This is one of my things I didn't like about this one. But I said I haven't played the other ones, so I don't know how the other ones are aside the first one. But my favorite thing in the first one was being able to interact with so many characters and so many things in the environment and make so
hmm
many connections. And this one felt very linear compared to that to me. Like it was like, do this investigation, go here, talk to this character, do this. Whereas like in the first one, even though it told you like go to the parking lot and talk to Warren,
hmm
I like walked around the dorm room and I would like talk to Dana in the dorm room. I would go talk to Taylor sitting outside on the ground. I would talk to the janitor about squirrels, talk to the professor. Like I was like
yeah,
I walked around and talked to a ton of people. We had a lot of conversations that changed our relationship. Like I had a good relationship with Taylor in the first one because I found out her mom was sick and I was nice to her. And like that was my favorite thing in the first one was it kind of showcased um, like how your actions, all of your even minor small actions have make a difference in someone's life, and that was my favorite thing. And I feel like this one, you there was nothing to really do. Like there wasn't much exploration in the open world. Like when you would walk around campus, there was barely anything you can interact with. You couldn't talk to a
hmm
bunch of students. And I also just felt like I wasn't really making I don't know,
it,
deep personal connections with people, I guess. I don't know. Like to me, it
Mhm.
just felt very different from the first one. And that was my favorite thing on the first one. Whereas I feel like this one focused a lot more on powers and the murder mystery and stuff. So I don't
yeah.
know. I kind of liked the vibe from the first one more, I
This
guess.
definitely
Yeah.
felt a little more loose end when it came to the characters. It just ev- in the first one, of course, everyone felt like it had a very direct purpose of who they were, what they were doing in the story. This one just felt a little more chaotic, and maybe that's because we have, and I don't know if it's intentional or not, but we have Safi and we have Max's powers. They're colliding, and there's different aspects of uncertainty because there's two timelines, and maybe that's how it was meant to go off as or get that vibe as. But uh,
Mhm.
even though that might be the choice that they might have went with, it didn't mesh as well as some of the previous games when it came to uh, tie up of story. So
Yeah. All right. Well, any last thoughts here about this game, other than what we just talked about?
um, I will say on my end, I was a little confused about the storm part.
Hmm.
Just because like in the first one, the reason there was a storm was because she was messing with fate essentially because Chloe was meant to die
hmm
and you kept stopping her from dying over and over and over and over again, which is what caused the storm. And in this one, I was a little confused
I,
why there was a storm when I don't know. I guess I was confused why there was a storm in this one when
I think
I don't know.
with both Safi impersonating people and causing havoc that way, as well as the whole picture that is developed and is seen as Max shooting her. I think her going back into that picture and figuring this all out and then coming back into that timeline, then splitting the timeline, definitely is bringing about a storm again because of the powers
Yeah.
being used.
Yeah. I'd like to agree with that idea. there's just too many powers like going off here. With Safi losing complete control over hers, and Max using her powers to try and stop Safi from like going crazy on hers. It created that storm, like it created that chaos. Um, but Max was able to like go down that third road and like see the benefits of both, where the town survives as well as the character, but both have damaged, I guess, in some way.
Okay. Yeah, it was just interesting to me because, like I said, the way I interpreted the storm in the first game wasn't because she was using her powers. It was because uh, she was stopping fate
Yeah.
from happening. I guess so.
And
And this one to me it didn't make sense because I didn't think she
I
was
guess I guess
stopping someone from dying.
well, I guess if it the storm didn't appear till after Max uh, started phasing into the other timeline and then trying to
That's
stop
true.
her from dying. So I don't know if that has something to do with it or what the
So
aspect of
maybe
that
the
is.
That's
storm's just
true.
directly related to Max and not necessarily with
It,
Safi.
it, yeah, it could be. It could be her trying to save another friend. Um,
That's
Hmm.
true. Trying
so,
to stop
but
her
maybe
from dying.
the reason why she was phasing is because Safi had a power of shape shifting, and that caused the rift, where then she accessed it and tried to save her in that timeline. I don't know. There's a lot of cool ideas. Um, Hopefully, we can get a little more clarity in the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping the next one or one of the future ones is definitely a sequel to
Well,
this with based on how it
yeah,
left off.
and I'm excited for you, Taylor, to play the other ones because I think
Mhm.
you'll enjoy them.
I'm
Yeah,
excited now too. I'm invested.
awesome.
Before the Storm is probably one of my favorites.
I did like that one. Life is Strange 2 was at the time didn't wasn't my favorite, but as time has gone by,
Yeah.
I actually like it.
Out
Um,
of all the ones that where your choice matters, I think Life is Strange
Strange
2 is
2,
probably the most consequential.
yeah, and I do like the tie-ins for the first one, just the small subtle nods um, and then True Colors was I think one of the most like gorgeous looking ones. Um,
It was
it was
beautiful, but I'm not gonna lie, I didn't finish True Colors mostly because it hit a topic that I was kind of like made me a bit upset
mm,
in that one. The yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it because Taylor hasn't played it yet.
yeah.
So, but it was the topic that happens at the end of chapter 3,
Oh, okay.
and that
All right.
what happened there, like that struck a nerve with me. So
Okay.
I need to go back though.
Um, yeah, I think that one is a I think my not it, the deception in that one is very powerful, I guess, and if you finish it. So
Hmm.
Oh,
All right,
actually, one more
guys.
thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I just thought of it. Did they explain, or was it really resolved why Max shot Sophie in that one timeline? Or
Um,
and my question was that the Max that was in the other timeline or supposed to be in the other timeline or was
yeah.
I
What
don't
about
know.
the other Maxes?
Yeah, what happened to that Max?
Hmm.
And did Max get her thoughts and actions when the merge came together? She didn't explain that either.
ooh, that'd be a good one.
So
Yeah, I
maybe
was just thinking about that now because I'm like, wait,
just
why did she shoot her?
maybe she did just because when she went to the snapping turtle, she's like, oh, she's gonna prepare uh, for whenever Safi returns. Maybe she knows from the other Max's thoughts and actions what happens or what occurs.
It's true. Maybe she knows. Like maybe Safi in a follow-up game is very bad with her powers, and then Max is like, okay, I
Yeah,
gotta stop that.
we go all the way back to the picture.
I could see them doing like a that Max leaving the pictures for the other Max in the next game, and sowing the seeds from the first one, trying to lead her along on how that all goes, and maybe that's a plot
Mm-hmm.
for the next one. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That would be good, actually.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I think we can close the book on this one, and
All right.
we want to thank everyone who's been listening so far or watching this episode of the Boss Rush Video Game Book Club, which is, of course, part of the Boss Rush podcast and the Boss Rush Network. You can continue to catch new episodes on the last Saturday of every month on the Boss Rush podcast feed or on YouTube. And also, you can get the show 1 month early and ad free with voting rights and other perks with as little as $1 on Patreon. So check out our merch and find all of our content on bossrush.net. Guys, Shane, Taylor, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Oh, it's a
To be
pleasure.
able to talk this game with me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And thanks everyone who's watching and or listening. Next month we will be diving into one of my personal favorite games, A Space for the Unbound. So
Oh,
I'm
nice.
looking really forward to that. I'm looking forward to Taylor playing that because I need more people to talk about this game.
I'm looking forward to playing it too.
Mm-hmm. And also to our patrons, I want to say, happy holidays. And to our free people who are going to be listening to this, Happy New Year's, depending on when you get this. So, yep. All right. See y'all later.
Goodbye.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.